Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome to all of you to the 31st Simple Talk series hosted by CGBMT School of Simple Living. Myself, Architect Radhika Gopinath. I'm the Senior Volunteer and Program Manager. I'm going to take you to the interesting session which discusses about architecture that responds. So, architecture is commonly understood to create the physical environment which people live. But architecture is more than just the built environment. It's also a part of our culture. It stands as a representation of how we see ourselves as well as how we see the world. When you talk about the role of architects, it is defined as they create designs for new construction projects, alterations, and redevelopments. They use their specialist construction knowledge and high level drawing skills to design buildings that are functional, safe, sustainable, and aesthetically pleasing. But similar to architecture, even the role of the architects is also more than this. So, when a question arises, whether architecture is able to respond to today's changing needs of the society, do architects are able to evolve themselves to accommodate and meet these changes by coordinating with the client and other team involved as a solution providers and also vice versa. So I would like to share a story asked by a traveler when I was traveling in a bus. As soon as I introduced myself as an architect, she started questioning me. What is this? Why are you using more glass everywhere? What will happen? You don't have concern about the occupants. So a lot of questions were put in. That actually gave me a big jerk because as an architect, I will be responsible as a whole fraternity. So I'm answerable for each and everything. So it's actually at the same time how the other side of the society is involved to make, be responsible. So whatever actions they're taking in. So it is responsible for every person to be involved to actually bring a change in the society. So there are countless ways that architects can continue to evolve the occupation and respond to the changing needs of our society. So we just need to step up to the challenge and believing we are capable of it. So to reveal all these secrets, we have two eminent speakers with us for the day to discuss about architecture that responds. So let's hear about the challenges and initiatives taken by both practicing and non-practicing architects. So we have architect Neelam Manjunath in conversation with architect Geeta Balakrishnan about architecture that responds. Through their journey and paths, I mean, for example, though their paths are different, but they both work for one single goal, that is social responsibility. I am really very curious to know about the kind of, the journey which they went through. So let us welcome them to the forum formally. So for that, I request our founder, architect Neelam Manjunath ma'am, to invite our guest speaker, architect Geeta Balakrishnan, to this forum.
Yeah, thanks, Radhika. And good evening, a very good evening to all the speakers who are directly into this and also who are listening to this program through the YouTube. A very warm welcome to this particular session of Simple Talks, Sadharan Baatein in Hindi, which is like commonplace talks that we need to do. And that's what brings us to a very important topic that we have today of today's webinar, which is architecture, which is the response would mean that architecture which is for everyone, is for the common man. And that's where we have Geeta Balakrishnan, a very old friend of mine. I've been following and we have been in touch with each other for a very, very long time. Since 94, I think, when I came to Bangalore. We have been in touch and I met her at Indian Institute of Science. So I'm very happy today to welcome you, Geeta, on this forum. And she has recently taken a very important, journey it's not just a journey on foot, it's also a journey which she took professionally for the sake of the whole fraternity of architects, to come to add a completely different dimension, or I would say to invoke a very different kind of a dimension to the profession of architecture, which has completely sort of lost, seem to have gone into a completely different direction. And so it became a very, it is a very important journey that she has undertaken, which we wanted, and we have invited her to share with us, not just the way she went about walking at this age, the whole journey from Calcutta to all the way to Delhi, but also what all she went through, what all she experienced, what all she thought, her thought processes while she was doing so. And so I welcome you, Geeta, a very warm welcome. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
No, Geeta.
Yeah, thank you so
yeah,
much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, welcome. So, I mean, at this age, doing this one, I'm such a huge, long walk, and with such terrains and that, different kinds of climate and everything that you have gone through is really commendable. And as I said, even more commendable is the way you have taken it. And that's really, I would say, the most important, because many people walk, that's there. But yes, of course, walking changes people. I am told that if you really want to get into a kind of, it's very meditational, it seems. And so that's what probably she went through, a complete, kind of, I don't know whether it's went through a metamorphosis or the way to change. And she wants to do that same metamorphosis in the profession of architecture. So welcome in, Geeta. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Over to you, Radhika.
Introduction only on the Geeta culture. I like that lady a lot. It's so good. She only gave me that entrepreneur, her company. I got one gift, they selected some architects.
Another few steps and we're entering Jharkhand. It's been a tremendous 300 plus kilometers through West Bengal. It's been a beautiful learning for me, interactions, moving experiences. And here we are at the Subarnarekha River. Legend has it that this river had gold under it, and even today apparently some people come searching, gold diggers come searching for the gold. And yes, it feels nice to be standing on this bridge and moving out of West Bengal into Jharkhand. Thank you, West Bengal, for all the love and coming over Jharkhand.
Ma'am, that was lovely. Actually, this reminded me, you went across at least 1,700 kilometers, right? So I could actually participate in a marathon, which is just 7 kilometers. That is one digit of yours. And that's also for the social cause. In Delhi, police lines, they organize that against, corruption and drug use. So that really, that title triggered me that yes, I have to participate. So that was my first marathon, and the whole family we participated. But hats off to you, the kind of energy after 300 kilometers. Also, you're actually talking with vibrant and lively, to the audience. That's really awesome. So I'll just take some more time to brief about you to the audience. So after that, the stage will be given to you so that you can start your presentation. So, my dear audience, you can see with the video the kind of, the social cause. Like she started walking. So basically, people think that walking is a very simplest thing to do, but she proved that that actually makes matters a lot, and then it can actually give a breakthrough to many things. So we are going to discuss about architect Geeta Balakrishnan here. She is a founder, curator, and Ethos Foundation. And avid runner, proponent, Walk for Arcas is the campaign, social campaign, which she started on architectural sustainability. So architect Geeta Balakrishnan completed a 1,700-kilometer journey on foot from Kolkata to New Delhi to raise awareness on the role good design can play in changing lives. So Walk for Arcas is a campaign that aims to take thoughtful, empathetic, and sustainable design ideas to the masses, focusing on the difference architects and designers have made through their holistic interventions in different spheres of life. So the overall intent of Walk for Our Cause is to bring the focus on architects in the social reap and on architectural social responsibility. She is alumni of, School of Delhi, School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. And she completed practical training at the Center for Building Performance and Diagnostics at Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh, USA. And she underwent a training program on stabilized mud blocks and over alternative methods of construction at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She worked with an NGO, AWS, as a shelter coordinator in the slums of Bangalore. And she's now a trustee of AWAS, Indian Heritage Cities, Network Foundation, and Ethos Foundation. And she started Ethos in 2002 with the intention of making the architectural and civil engineering community alive to the changes happening globally and in our country in the field of architecture and construction. And she also launched ACEDG, ACEDG, in August 2018 to offer online education modules that give the edge in the field of architecture, construction, engineering, and design. So she was shortlisted at the top 25 people in Kolkata in the Lead India campaign by the Times of India. An avid runner, she had completed 3 full marathons and multiple of half marathons. Wow, that's amazing. Ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Radhika. Thanks, Neelam, CGBMT, for having me here on the Simple Talk series. Good evening, everybody. The video that was just shown, I'm seeing it after a while, and it did bring back a lot of nostalgia and beautiful memories from the walk. I think it was quite an incredible experience. Also, the video that CGBMT showed took me back in time. You showed Sudhakar at Mrinmai, and when I was doing my internship and I was a research associate at IISc, Sudhakar used to be at the Astra premises at that time, showing us how to make mud blocks. And he was, of course, younger, and I was even younger at that time. And we've come a long way since then. I'd love to go and meet up with him and Dr. Yogananda when I can. I'm just going to share screens. Take you to my presentation. All good, right?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, ARCOS is a term that I really coined close to 10 years ago. It saw the light of day when the campaign ARCOS was actually started I started thinking about it and making this happen a year ago. Although the walk itself is something I kind of zeroed in on and wanted to do, from 5 years, for 5 years now. I kind of read an article in the in one of the newspapers about Priya Dutt and Sunil Dutt walking from Bombay to Amritsar, and that set my mind buzzing on what I could do on a walk as my campaign. And it took 4-5 years for it to actually happen. It was in July last year is when I finally committed to doing the walk after thinking of various ways of doing it. And there I was on the road about 6 months after I committed to walking. Today's theme really, if we are talking about architecture that responds, and Paul Goldberger is a favorite of mine, where he talks about a socially responsible attitude in architecture is essential for socially responsible trends in architecture. And I think I can't agree with him more when he says that. Some images of my walk you're going to see a little bit more. I'm not going to spend too much time on the presentation. I'd like to spend time talking if I can and answering questions or in discussion. But here we are seeing images of me, with different sections of people along the way, and interacting with people, and more on that as we go on. So yes, like I said, how can you have make a difference through design? It's through designing, making sure that designs respond, and as an architect we are responding too. And I think that's the simple thing. We talk about unfortunately architectural education, all of these have become very niche and very elitist professions. And when you actually see how our slogan of roti kapda or makan was something that is so crucial. So how can makan or architecture or something about discussions on shelter, because people spend 70 to 80% of their lives indoors in whatever kind of shelter, and how can then shelter design and architecture become niche or become elitist? It needs to reach people. So there are many people who, many architects, including Jaisim, who's here today, or Neelam, who weave in definitely social responsibility and social approaches in their practice itself. So there are design firms that are not necessarily social practices. They are regular commercial practices, but they have an attitude of social responsibility in their approach to design. And I'm just showing you, everybody knows about Aranya Housing, what it was meant to do, how it was meant to break those barriers, connect people, and how design contributed towards a lot of that happening. Many of us know about Hunarshala, being front-ended by Sandeep and many others. How the act of building, actually, in the way Hunarshala practices, is empowering, and how the act of involving people in this practice of designing and building makes them bond better as communities, coming together and strengthening the community itself. And I think that's something that I take away from Hunarshala. This is again a very moving image for me, where this is the wall between US and Mexico. We heard a lot about it during the Trump regime, and this wall unfortunately lasted for exactly 40 minutes. It had a seesaw between the two sides of the wall, and that's how people connected. And a wall is meant to divide, and this wall was actually connecting people as well. This was designed by Ronald Ryle and Virginia Sanfratello, but unfortunately lasted only for 40 minutes. But I think it's a large statement on how design can be used to connect as well, and in something that's actually meant to divide. This is the Methi School by Anna Heringer in Bangladesh, and many of us know and follow her work. I'd just like to read a quote. So, architect Anna Heringer was asked at an interview by students of IIT Kharagpur on what would her advice be to students of architecture. And her response, I mean, it echoes so much with how I feel, was humility, honesty, courage, trust, curiosity, flexibility, practical approaches, cooperative attitudes, visionary approach, passion, love for the planet Earth and its inhabitants, and being responsible. She says, to me, it's absolutely vital that if you want to be a good architect, learn to build yourself first. And I think, yes, that's where it all starts on what is the kind of personality that we would like our practice to be, or our career to be. And I think that's something it's good to start thinking very early in life. There are many youngsters that I work with, and their career paths and what they choose to do are huge revelations and learning experiences for me as well. This was at one of our grant programs that we give out, where this was a project conceptualized by Venkatesh and Siddharth for Sundarbans, where most of the islands, lose their topsoil because of the tides and things like that, and hence growing vegetables becomes a problem. So they conceptualized a floating vegetable garden and they actually built it. This image probably does not do justice. It was with a lot of bamboo and local wood that was used to make this structure. This is again a Rail of Opportunities by Snehal Chaudhary from Pune, who had an idea to how do you retrofit and make use castaway rail wagons. I mean, many people have suggested this, but to make it bright and get people to get neighborhoods to get involved in using them fruitfully and so on also is something that she brought up. We have a showcase on our website called Arcos Showcase, where we've put up works of architects from across our country, students from across our country. These works are specifically in the space of social relevance on responsible and responsive designs. And if any of you have projects, please feel free to send them to us at the Arcos Showcase. So yes, I think this is crucial in what we do. Even when I was reading out Anna Heringer's quote, she says cooperative attitude. So I think the bane of our profession also is many of us are working in silos and not really coming together. And that's extremely crucial for change to happen. And I think there is immense power in coming together. And the power is going to percolate to the individual as well. And hence, it's in our own interest for us to come together. I'd like to quote Ranjit Sabiki here, who says, it's therefore time for architects to come together, to reassert themselves and insist on their value being recognized. It's quite obvious that change is called for, and this is not likely to happen on the initiative of bureaucrats or politicians. Young architects and students will need to get together in large numbers from all parts of the country. Yes, and I think this need for us to come together and be visible is something that was only reinforced many, many times over during the walk. So this is the first day of the walk. As I was crossing Howrah Bridge, there were many who promised me that they will walk at least the first day with me, the 28 kilometers or so that I did on day one. But you can see that I think by the half kilometer, many people dropped off, and there were only about 6 of us who walked across the Howrah Bridge, after which it was just me and my husband who walked together for the first 2 days. After the 2 days, my husband also couldn't join me and I was largely on my own. Just for your information, you saw that car that was following me in the video that was shown. So there was a car that kind of shadowed me. The car was given by Mahindra, and there was a bike by TVS. And it was all the job of my crew. There were 4-member crew. There was a videographer, a photographer, and 2 people who were to manage the logistics. Initially, I did think of a larger contingent. At some point, I realized that this needs to be a solitary journey for various reasons. I'm writing about my experiences as well, and likely that a book will probably be around soon. So yes, I'm going to raise a few issues that came up and maybe just touch on them as I make this presentation. On the left, this conversation is at an NGO called Nirman that works with construction workers. And I think, when I was looking for so I decided that construction workers will flag my walk off. And I was looking for 2 construction workers to flag me off, and it was kind of strange that it took a long while for me to get to 2 construction workers, because I'm not in the act of designing and building, but to get architects to find 2 construction workers for me was difficult, because we don't talk to our construction workers. I think it's so important for us to bridge that gap between them and us. And the other thing that struck me on day 1 when I finished at Dankuni was when I was having a chat with the construction worker who's doing earth fill at that point where I stopped. He didn't know what was being constructed on that site. And I think that's a huge revelation again on how we don't connect enough to those people who are actually making our dreams come true. And if they don't take pride in what they're building, then they're not going to be totally invested in the task as well. And this is something I'm happy that many architects have taken forward and have said that they will begin a project from here on by making that first presentation to the construction workers on their site, so that they kind of are the first ones to hear about what the project is. So it was Prashanto and Vijay who flagged me off from Victoria Memorial, and I was on my way. Sorry. So I think there are, I stopped along the way very often after 3 hours of walking, I would take a break to have a little sandwich and stretch, and people would gather around. I carried with me different kinds of presentations and flashcards and books which I would lay out on the table, and people would gather around, start looking at it, trying to understand what on earth I was doing in the middle of their lives. And that's how conversations kind of got started. I think it was interesting that along the way I saw a lot of traditional homes, a lot of very, very beautiful homes built using mud and tiled roofs and so on. And all the upgradations that are happening now through the upgradation programs of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Awas Yojana, all of them are moving towards using, abandoning the traditional methods of construction and moving on. And many of these people are getting contractors who probably are working as construction workers on our sites in cities to build. So we are actually teaching them what they should take back. And very often people in these areas are lost on how to use these newer materials. And, again, design needs to be accessible to these people. And how do we make that accessible? They can't afford architects. So there are ideas. I think all of us need to come together and see how we can make some of that happen. I met Anjali at, on the outskirts of Bishnupur in a resort, and very clearly knows the advantages of her mud home. But if she was to build afresh, she talked about building with brick and concrete, because everybody else builds with that. So again, what is the, how do you, most of these homes are extremely high on maintenance. They still carry the tag Kacha with them. So how do you make it comfortable for them as well? And so I think it's important for public buildings, the panchayat office, the collectorate, etc., to first be built using some of these methods. I mean, Jaisim is a standing example of building, his own premises with the materials that he believes in, so that his clients also believe in those materials. I mean, it's true of Neelam as well. The office that she's done with bamboo is again a statement. I think an inclusive society is something that I can't stress enough on. By inclusive, I do mean including, making sure there are equal opportunities for all. And this is something that seemed sorely lacking wherever I went, whether it was cities, towns, villages, wherever. It was very stark. And when I'm talking inclusive, I'm talking about differently abled, I'm talking about women, I'm talking about different age groups. I mean, we really need to make sure that we are designing spaces for everybody. And sometimes when we are talking universal access, our vision is limited to, you know, providing that ramp and maybe an elevator and doing a few things like that, which really is not holistic. And I think it's important for all of us to see how we can make that holistic approach. We are looking at designing a course on universal access, which will be made freely available to students and even architects across India, so that they can upskill. And we'll keep that course also moving dynamic, so that any changes in policy also keep coming out there. Arts and crafts, again, as I walked along, you know, one has this impression that, if, for instance, in Bangalore, there is Pottery Town. I learnt my pottery, whatever little, you know, when I moved to Bangalore in 1992, I think 91, 92 is when I used to go to Pottery Town and sit with this potter and learn. And there's a bunch of potters who live together. I'm not sure what it's like now. But along the way, when you see these craftspersons, they're not, it's not like there is a bunch of them living together. They are like, there'll be one, and then maybe 4 houses away there's another one. So people are kind of moving away from these crafts, is what I'm trying to say. I also came across one village where there is the only murti maker, you know, the idol maker, the only one in that village, and his offspring are also not taking to the craft, and hence it's likely that it's going to perish as well in that village at least. So how can we as designers and architects ensure that maybe we include one dying craft in our every project, and maybe that's one small contribution we can make towards reviving some of these crafts. I'm just going to play this little video. So this was a conversation I had maybe every day on the journey, and after a point I kind of actually got tired of saying the same thing over and over again. But architects are not known. The word architect is not known, the word Vastukar is not known. It's the engineer that's building those connections, because the engineer is present on site, the engineer is giving directions, the contractor is giving directions to these people, and they are the ones who are accessible to them, and hence the architect is relatively unknown. If we want, this is a wake-up call really. I mean, we can lament as much as we want to, saying that the architect is not given due importance, but what are we doing to be visible in communities? And like I said, I think construction workers can be our ambassadors as well. Also, there have been discussions on how we can probably, you know, look at certain positions in life. At least I'm sure we can integrate certain projects where design becomes accessible to people, where you know, maybe replicable ideas are made available. We'll have to see what is possible. I understand that you know, designing for free is also something people are concerned about, but these people really can't afford us, and they need good advice. To give you an example, this is oops, can someone help? I don't know, I didn't realize there's some scribbling happening on the screen. But this on the left side, the first image is of the Lifeline Express, which I happened to visit in Madhya Pradesh. It's a train that goes around India, and there are you know, doctors, surgeons, and the train functions as an operation theatre. 1 week is kept for eye operations, 1 week for ear, ENT, and 1 week for dental, and so on. And the surgeons are giving of their time free, while the OPD is run by the NGO. I mean, I think you know, very strongly that we could make design clinics happen, as well as the architect fraternity comes together. Design literacy, like you saw in the video, and even here you're seeing, I did go around to various schools, again in the smaller towns and villages. Our profession is unknown. And I think it's so important for us to get architects from these locations. It's so important for us to see if colleges in, there is an imbalance of colleges as well. I mean, largely urban centers and towns are the ones that carry colleges, have colleges. How can we make these colleges that are there in some of these locations, the centers of excellence or centers of expertise in that regional vernacular architecture? I was completely mesmerized by this girl Sumari, who I met in Jharkhand. She's part of the Oraon tribe, and how she's keen to pursue a career in geography. Because she loves to learn about the planet, the mountains, the rivers, and everything that the field of geography has to offer. And she was able to articulate so beautifully about architecture. How many of our students who take up architecture because they love space, they understand orientation, colors, and material, they feel strongly for material? How many of us take up design and architecture for that? How can we instill that kind of love at the school level? And I think that's a large campaign that we as a community can undertake. So yes, these are the different areas that I mentioned that I noticed and observed. And I have covered a little bit. I mean, it's just a small, insight into what I saw. And there's, this question of how can we come together to do more. I think that's something that we all need to discuss. So I think firstly it starts with us. So we as Ethos, I said if you're taking it to people, you're telling people to contribute and come and do things together. Let's start at home. And so we at Ethos, we're about 15 architects between us. So we divided ourselves into 2 groups and played this game called Wing Cause, where the 2 teams actually went out speaking at NGOs, talking to construction workers, getting schools to understand what design is. Rasya even went to a post office and spoke to the post office staff on different stamps that carry buildings on them from India. So we said let's start doing that ourselves. And now we are, so this is the last day when I crossed over. After I crossed over, we had a commemorative walk from Rajghat to Red Fort, and there were about 100 architects. It was again, COVID was again rearing its head, so we had to be a little careful. So about 100 architects walked that distance with me. And we'd like to see if we can make this the day of architectural social responsibility. I am talking to different organizations and bodies to see if that can happen. So that was the bunch of us that actually came together. There are architects, there are students from students of architecture, there are school students, there was a doctor, there was someone from the army, there was someone from the police force. So it was really nice to have this diverse set of people coming together and learning from each other while they walked. So now we are looking at ARCOS clubs. This is something that we've initiated. We're getting colleges. It doesn't have to be just colleges. It can be any bunch of individuals, a firm that wants to come together, and we are creating and curating activities, but the campaign can actually also be curated by the respective club itself. We're just giving you directions or some guidelines, and the club takes over and makes those activities happen. And that's one small way in which we are trying to see how we can bring people together. And yes, I think it's our cause and our responsibility to really make that difference. Not just, I mean, it works both ways. It's also to strengthen our fraternity and hence thereby our own careers and our lives. But also the other way, I think we architects can stand for the cause of society as well. With that, I think I'll hand it over to Neelam to kind of take it forward and see how we can make this a more meaningful discussion. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Geeta. That was really great. Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You have a video?
No, I think that's Radhika sharing.
Yeah,
No,
Radhika,
actually, yeah.
Okay. So I think then that was a very, absolutely wonderful presentation and as excellent as the journey that you undertook. And there were some very important issues that you actually highlighted, and I'm so very happy that these issues have actually come to light. And I think though Radhika said two people in conversation, I mean me and you, and I think we have Jaisim sir here, Honorable Jaisim sir, who has been my mentor. Not that I've ever worked under him or with him, but I've been looking up to him for the kind of journey that he has undertaken, and then I have been doing whatever bit I am able to do. And so, Jaisim sir, you can also say, I would request you to just share your thoughts, and probably then I will undertake further.
I'm at an age when I'm watching you youngsters take the world and lead India and the subcontinent forward. We have done things. It was a wonderful talk, Geeta. Wonderful talk.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks so much.
We
I'm
initiated
glad
a
you're
lot
here.
of youngsters to come up. Do it. I'm with you on one thing, various journeys. I was just thinking about the few talks that I may address in a few days. You've given me the inspiration to go ahead in spite of my age and think. Physically, mentally, I can go. Physically, I'm not able to. I would have also walked with you, not anymore.
Maybe you will, if I'm doing Karnataka, short section from your, where, from Suvidha to some place, we can do something together.
You never know.
Whenever, yes.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure. But we must take about integration of materials, integrative elements, and integration of our past into the present. That is what we are missing. You touched it very well. When we go back 4,000 years back and see the Indian architecture, the subcontinent architecture, and then bring it, the Vastu, to the present, with going ahead with tremendous context, it'll make a big difference. Just go ahead. I'm with you both on this journey with all of you.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Always, I see you being one super pillar of support to anybody who's going ahead and doing it.
Yes, you're so right. Yeah. Yeah. And in our simple talks, I think 31 we are doing. Sir has the maximum attendance. Let me tell you. He has always been there, inspiring by his presence, by his ideas and things like that. It's been really. So sir has been doing Arka's journey for many years. Sir has been doing.
Yes, over
we are
here.
now following.
It's a practice over.
Absolutely.
Okay. So few of the things I think you've already spoken just as a practicing architect, and Jaisim sir also would have, been. We have our own journeys, of course, but we have been working very closely with the people we work with. I think that was something which has always been in my mind, and probably the journey I started with all these alternative building materials. I think I used to keep coming to IISc, and you used to be there as a research person out there. So from there, in private practice, it's quite difficult, and to really convince a client, it has been very difficult to convince a client and get work done. And it has been equally difficult to even get people to work. And as you said, there's something like PM Awas Yojana that you're talking about. People go back and build in concrete because we build in concrete. I mean, we build in concrete where they work as people in the city who work on our buildings.
But Neelam,
and that's why
it also has to do with the guidelines.
Yes.
So while yes, they notice what's happening in cities and towns, but the guidelines for these programs also, I think, need to be maybe tweaked.
Yes.
And we,
Yes.
as a fraternity of architects, if only we had a say in some of those things, maybe things would be different. Because
yes, of course.
so I think just guidelines. I'm not even saying enforcements, because it's not fair. We don't have enforcements, or we don't have such guidelines when we are building. So there is no reason why there should be for others. But in some way, showcasing what certain kinds of construction do to people. That's why I said maybe some of the government buildings is something that could be done.
Yeah. So that's what it's not
One
just
thing,
it's not just
don't
that.
enforce. I'm with you on this.
Yeah.
Do not enforce anything. The moment
Yes,
you
sir.
enforce, it becomes something
It's a
else.
lost battle.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That is the whole
Totally a
thing,
lost
sir.
battle. It
The
has
whole
to.
thing is, I do not know, sir, who is enforcing. Because I was in Madhya Pradesh, I went to all these very remote areas where people don't want concrete buildings. It is the other people. It's not.
No, don't
It
worry
is
about concrete buildings or anything. Building
no, sir.
sense of life. What she
What
said.
what I'm telling, sir, that they build this with this money. They build a shed. They put their cows in that, and they live in the mud buildings because that is more conducive to the climate and their lifestyle. They say we don't require electricity there. We don't. Our grains don't get spoiled in the mud buildings, and they're like fantastic mud buildings that they live in. Their cows were living in those houses that was done under PM Awas Yojana. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, that these are things because the bamboo and mud buildings and the buildings that they have, there's one big policy thing that I have been talking about is they are labeled as kacha houses, and that is something where when the Prime Minister says that I will do pakka houses for everybody, he just rules out all these kind of traditional buildings that we are talking about, which are very regional and which are very distinct. And I've been talking about for in every forum, I have been trying to ask this, that please do this, that change this specifications or things like that.
Neelam, when I went with Jay Krishnamurthy, he would say, Jai Simha, the architect, I want only kacha buildings for my school, kacha buildings or something. To hell with that is the real thing. That's why when we did the Valley School in Valley, afterwards, after he passed away, things changed. Kacha building is the correct thing for India. That's what we want.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kacha is. That's why I said go back 4,000 years back.
Yes, sir. So in the policy, if they give that like that, then if the PM Awas Yojana, the people will be able to enforce. Even the district magistrates, the people, they want to do, but they as Geeta was telling, the guidelines probably for the PM Awas Yojana has been made in such a way that they can't do other kind of buildings. So that is something which is the policy needs to be taken.
PWD. You can't PWD.
Yeah.
That's the problem with them. Only when they want their personal houses, they'll come and sit with me and say, sir, ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ರಿ ಸರ್ ಏನೇನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ಬರಬೇಡ್ರಿ ನೀವು. You understand my Kannada on this. Don't come to
Yes, sir.
That is
Yes,
true.
sir, understood.
Everywhere, not just India, all over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understood, sir. That's what. So that is one thing, that pain point where if these can be considered as pakka houses or some kind of a thing that can be done, then I think things will really change. That is one
Walk
thing.
the talk became a big thing. All my youngsters and students will say, can we join? I said, go fly catcher and walk around.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Yeah. And as far as craft and other things are concerned, I think there is one major aspect which I feel needs to be talked about is that we say we are architects, we say we have done PhD, but what about people who have been doing the years of work, generation after generation? There has to be some kind of certification for these kind of people, which is called.
Don't bring all these certificates from government and all, Neelam. It's a waste. I never passed an exam. They gave the doctorate, they gave the PhD, they gave the PhD, they gave the MR. I didn't want a single one.
So I think
for the people who work on the site.
Even there, moment I see some girl or woman working well, I'll say, you are my mason. Come to hell with the mason, pay him and throw him out. That's what I do.
No, but if you were to talk about what we as architects can do for these crafts, there's one more thing that I think which is very important is say fabric designers or artists are evolving that art form by looking at what modern technology is, using computers, using newer materials to strengthen or to make the life of that art and craft long, looking at fusion techniques where two art forms can come together and so on. And I think if we can look at some of that in our architecture as well, how can some of the art, and I think that's where once that starts happening and then people start liking what the evolved art form is and start using it more, some of the livelihoods will probably come back, because right now lot of it is still extremely traditional. None of us have invested time to see how some of this can actually be brought to speed with our lives and our requirements now. And I think
I
that's
just
something.
I just wanted to share that incident that we have, when we talked about that PM Awas Yojana kind of a thing. We have this guy, Anandi Lal, who is working with me since 2008, 2009. And he has gone back and he's built his house with the technology that I am building here in Jharkhand. And there, even the district authorities and people, they have been coming and seeing. And he's a tribal guy. So it's like, as you said, that when we build with concrete, they also learn that on the side. So since he had been working with me for such a long time to build his pakka house, which is because he will build only one time in his life, he went and he believed in the technology that we were building with, and we are building with, and he's working with. He went back and he has done that work, and I think that is something for me was like a big success in trying to see that the grassroots change actually starts happening. His
True,
son
Neelam.
got
See, at this point, what we are doing in our practices, like what Kirta was talking of villages, I prefer to do not even in the second cities and main cities, third level and fourth level villages is where we are concentrating. I find after I go there, I learn much more from them and give it back to them. It's phenomenal the amount of knowledge they have. Only nobody.
sir.
So that's another thing I think it's important. One is
Recognition of prior learning.
We may be
Recognition of prior
losing,
learning.
we may be fighting a losing battle of sorts in trying to retain some of this, but can we at least document and create these libraries in colleges can actually give these as projects where they are going and documenting some of these things and coming back and making it part of their libraries is something we could look at. And I think one thing, I'm glad that you said somebody went back to Jharkhand and used bamboo for their construction, but I'm also saying that building with concrete need not be, I mean, it's not, I'm not talking about materials. It might be a material that they've chosen, but I think how do you use it well? How do you look at orientation? So these are things that when they're building with mud, it comes very naturally to them. When it is a sloping roof with Bangalore tiles or with Guna tiles or whatever, they know how to design that house. But when it becomes something more solid, then they kind of lose their way. So again, like Jason said, we will learn from them when it is their technology. But when they move on to different technologies, I'm not saying, I mean, again, we are nobody to say don't use this or use this. It's again eventually going to be some choices that they'll make. But how do we at least advise them on making good decisions in terms of design? When I was walking in West Bengal and Jharkhand, I found homes which still had that front tinne, the dahlies and things like that they call it. But the minute I went into Madhya Pradesh, because there were expressways, the road I was taking at least had expressways and had these newer and the all upgraded homes, I felt their life had changed because of the way they built. They became more closed in their interactions, in their minds. The openness with which they received me changed as I moved from one place to the other. It was like a thermometer of sorts where I could check these differences as I went along, and that shows how important right design can be. How important. So I'm not for a minute saying everybody has to continue building with mud or with different material, the older materials. I'm just saying that the know-how on designing that space needs to be given to them. Like one lady in Rajua that they showed, unfortunately, in that video by HT, they have the wrong photograph with the right name, Rajua. But Rajua in UP asked me to see her home. And she had already done the foundation, so there was nothing much I could do. And this was like my fee for using her toilet. She said, "Aapne hamara toilet use kiya, baaki hamara ghar ka naksha dekhiye." She had done 4 rooms beside each other. That was it. She says, "I have 4 sons, 4 rooms, no staggering. They're all straight, and getting in. And then there's one kitchen somewhere far away." So it works in a mud home probably because it still stays cool. But when you're doing brick and plastered homes, then I told her maybe you can plaster with a little bit of soil cement mortar, you know. So these are things that I gave her as a input and I left. But yeah, that was my 2 bit.
Mhm. Yeah, what I'm just trying to say, I didn't mean that they have to be built with bamboo or mud, something like that. What I'm trying to say that, as you said, that what we build with here, they carry.
Yes, they carry
It's
with
an
them. I'm
upgrade
so glad. Yes,
for them.
yes.
Yeah, it's an upgrade for them. It's an upgrade because everyone in society wants to go up. So they think that now bigger people are living in such houses and things like that. So I also can live, and that's
Yes.
where the whole thing in the architecture fraternity to switch to options which would be much less imprint on the earth and things like that. If it is done probably, they're more cyclic and they're more biodegradable, this will work. And that's what I just meant to say, that it's because of that. I'm also not it's a very wrong thing that has been told and spoken about me, that I am doing only bamboo. I don't. That's a very wrong kind of an
Neelam,
impression that
it's like they call me the quiz woman, where I
Yes, I always. The another point, one thing. Recently,
yeah, because
about
I
3
don't.
years, no, about 3
Yeah.
years back, we were suddenly called and asked, "Sir, you're getting a special award." We had built a mud building, mud bricks, total tiles, and who gave the award? The Concrete Institute of India.
Yeah.
We haven't used one bag of cement there. Yet they said, we appreciated, we somehow found this building, the entire committee is approved. This village is the best. It happened. We just have to do, as she says, convincingly without bothering the others. She set an example. That's why I like the walk. She set an example. You set an no use fighting these people. Window, fellow window. I said, what is window? Window, you tell me what it is. That's not the point. Students should be understand that they should take the decisions, not the manufacturers of materials. They should not take the decisions. Unfortunately, it's happening the other way, which you should slowly change in schools of architecture. It'll happen.
Yes, that is what we are talking about. So like walking the talk and talking the walk.
Our great man will come off. No.
It's like that. So once we do that as architects, once we do that, the other people will follow, and that's what probably we are talking about.
Not follow,
that
go ahead.
response.
Go ahead.
Yeah, response. Architecture that response. So that's what a topic which has been, it was given by Geeta, and I think it's really a nice topic that it responds. It has to respond to various things, and then for that, there are certain things definitely needs to be done. And I'm sure you have done a lot of it, I know, in your life. And so, so all of us also have to do that bit. Recognition of prior learning is one thing which I have been also trying to think about, giving dignity to the people who work on the site. If he's a mason, if there's a recognition of prior learning to the person, he would feel that, okay, I am the head mason and I have got this certificate or something like that. Because everyone gets a PhD and a master's certificate, but the masons and all those people, they are still called a mason, who would be absolutely at the last point. And I would rather say that, the way we do PhD in 3 years or 5 years, they have spent their whole life doing the same work. How much research they would have done and how much work they would have done on that. There should be a recognition of prior learning.
Neelam, it was very interesting. I think, couple of weeks ago, we had a session on INHAF, where Council of Architects President Habib Khan was there. And when we were having a similar discussion, he said that, probably the downfall of architecture education started when formal colleges started.
I told you, I agree with you.
100%.
Yeah.
And he
said
said
all colleges.
It was when Bauhaus came about with their first college, is when this whole
Bauhaus is a dangerous thing that ever happened in life.
Is when the change happened. And until then, it was through apprenticeship, really, the learning.
100%.
Yeah, but we can't, I don't think we can turn back time and do anything different. But I'm saying on the front of masons and all, I think we need to be a little careful if we are looking at doing a similar thing.
Very good.
Yeah, that's very right. So there's one thing which I have been trying to do all the time, that we giving them awards rather than giving it to other people. I award the artisans on the site. I through trainings, through things, and when I take them abroad, they went with me, and they were made to stay in the same kind of a room that I was staying, and that really made them feel very nice and equal. And that's why probably they are able to give their best whenever we are actually talking to them. So these are some things, when we say accessible and inclusive, we include that other community, which is, takes care of most of our work on the site. But when we are actually taking all the architects and all, we take all the credit for the work that is done. And I think that is something which is, we just wanted to share. And on all our sites, we try to bring everyone together. There is an architect, there is a mason, there is a carpenter, and we all sit together at the end of the day, and we discuss what all we have done throughout the day, and we decide how we should solve some of the problems, which we can take it to the next day, and how we will be doing somewhat. And everybody is a part of the decision making, and that's what I have been practicing since since the time I started practicing. That's how it has been, and it really works. Of course, I don't know. We had a discussion on Thursday, as you said, how now these kind of things actually can. I think even Jaisim sir would relate to that. How do we take this kind of a thing to a larger project? It may be easy to do on a smaller projects and things like that. How do we actually take it up in larger projects and things like that?
Very large housing projects, lands, you've got to be involved. It can be done. Only thing, the government should not get involved. That's all. They must allow
So I
us.
have, Neelam, I have one architect, I'm waiting for him to, he's pledged to me that the next, and he does large housing, okay? So he says the next project I do, I will begin by asking the contractor who brings in the labor to assemble all of them. I will make a presentation to them of the plan, of the design, on how this is going to be built, what will come where, what is the land layout and so on. I will have a meal with them and probably do it every few months. So I'm excitedly looking forward to that happening. And once that happens, I intend to make such a large noise of it so that there will be many others who would want to do something.
Just do it.
Yeah. Neelam, you're on mute.
Take the journey forward, Gita. Don't worry, it'll all work. You just can. Sometimes I like the walk when nobody's around me. That's nicer to walk alone and spiritual. All the others come on. I really like that.
Yeah. So that, that's all probably from my side. And this larger program, as you said. So now we are talking to some other architects the other day, and they said that in the beginning, since we're struggling, so how to get projects and how to do things, so we did things very differently. And now, if you want to go back and change the way, we use materials and we do the whole, projects and things like that, how do we go about it suddenly, And that was something.
Thinking, Neelam, when I was, we're talking about the power of coming together and collaboration. I was thinking about, say, let's take the example of bamboo itself, since you're in that space. And if you were to, I'm not sure how many, can we count on our fingers? Are they double digit, triple digit designers, architects who are working in this space in our country? Would
Very
you know?
few. Very few.
Very few. So even if it is very few, can those very few come together and start talking to each other? I know people in the East. I'm sure you know people in the South and North, maybe. Identify people in the West and see how all of you, I'm not even saying you need to collaborate on projects, but on ideas, on thoughts, on spreading the word and things like that. Maybe you should look at leading something like that, and I'm saying in different spaces like that, people start coming together, and then bamboo and somebody who's working with mud and bamboo, they start talking, and then that universe keeps growing, and that's one way of making the impact larger.
I think I have been doing that, Geeta, from the beginning, actually. I've been
But has the
talking to
number
different
grown?
organizations. Yes.
Has the number grown?
Yes. When I started working, probably I was the only architect in India who was working in 1999. And now you can see that. I mean, I have spoken at HUDCO, I had spoken
No,
at
no, you have spoken. I'm not talking
APCL.
about you. You
No,
have
no.
spoken.
I mean to say the taking it to people. So on the site, I was speaking to the workers. In the organization, I was speaking to IFS officers at the policy level. I was speaking to the students in the colleges, and I have been doing that, going up and down,
No, no,
cutting across.
conveying you're doing, Neelam. I'm talking about collaborating with others who are working in similar spaces and with
Yeah.
alternate
So
materials.
for Bamboo
100
Society
years
of
ago,
India.
100 years ago, the theater in the middle of Bangalore was built with bamboo, as bamboo reinforcement. Don't say you did it. I will never, everything. See, we're only talking about one subject called material. Material is a small item
Yes, sir.
in architecture. It's
Yes,
a
sir.
very small item. It can be anything. The spatial content and ethos of, that's why I like the word ethos on this place, with that of the human being in that cultural identity. That is what matters most with the land. With the
Yeah, I understand, sir, what you are saying. I said in 1999 at that time.
No, I'm talking about 1799.
Sir,
Oh no, it's still there. I still remember my grandfather showing this to me. He was a architect of the government, or the Maharaja's architect. He literally wrote to this grandmother and showed it to me. He said, this whole roof of nearly 60 to 70 feet span, done then, almost 250 years, is there in bamboo reinforcement. They didn't have steel, only bamboo. They're still standing. I don't know what happened recently in the last 10 years. I've not gone there. So there is huge history in this country. That's why I said 4,000 years back. And
no, sir, I also have been talking about the same thing, that bamboo was being used. It stopped getting used.
I don't
it
know.
has to be used again. And that for that, I have been working, sir. I definitely have not invented.
I completely appreciate the enormous effort. I'm just saying, I just gave an example.
I have not invented. I have not invented, sir.
I'm not. I gave bamboo and you as an example.
Yeah.
You are already doing it, but I'm saying there could be so many such collaborations that happen across, which will make that impact larger.
Yeah. So we have this Bamboo Society of India, through which, I mean, now we have been working, and I joined them in 2011, and through that I tried. Even Jaisim sir, I brought him in there, and there are many other architects, and we have a working committee which is on architecture, civil engineering, and design with bamboo. And every month we are doing a webinar, and we signed an MOU with Council of Architecture in last year in April, and we are doing that, to the best of our capacity, and trying to bring other architects, civil engineers, designers, and these people in the space, and trying to get to people, trying to ask them to talk to people so that it goes forward. So that's what we're doing. Further, if you can tell us how to more collaborate, we would be most happy to take it.
I think I made the mistake of using bamboo and you as an example. I just gave that as an example. I meant any space. I think people need to any space, any material. I think the collaboration is what will increase the impact, is what I was trying to say. I was not pointing to Neelam or to bamboo in specific. So yeah.
No. I just told about the process I have taken.
Very good.
Yeah. So the process I have taken, I was not bragging about myself. I was talking about the process that I have taken to get to this level, and get to this level where I am able to relate to different all the kind of people, and I keep talking to every new person also who is working on bamboo, bring them on the platforms that we have. We invite them, and we have had lots of people who have worked here in our courses who have gone again back, and they have tried to do this. So this is one model or process of getting an idea to the people, is what I'm talking about, not about bamboo. I'm also not talking about bamboo. I'm talking about the process that I took. I may be wrong. I have made mistakes probably, but this is what I took. I'm just trying to share that process. That's all. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. So I think, Radhika, we can maybe summarize.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And yes.
So that was really, really mesmerizing to see all three of you discussing about the architecture that responds. You went through a lot of topics about education system, then inclusive design, concerns of artisans and workers involved in the construction site. Of course, they're like we need to really equality need to be given, and recognition is still a big concern. But as an architect, if we can take a responsibility, how we can actually change their lives and bring some differences in the society. So like each one of you has taken a different path, but otherwise it is like, you're all coming forward and sharing your own experience, the failures, and which need to be really known to the upcoming students and budding architects. Because we are just discussing here because it's all, after all, it's our own world which we need to, I mean, society and the kind of environment which we need to create. So everyone input is really important. So this is totally different, which I'm actually go through in such kind of conversation I never heard. So it's totally
Neelam and me
refreshing for me. Yeah. So it's up to the students. I'm leaving. Let them take the decision.
Yeah, we have not had any questions from anybody. I mean, that's.
But I'm looking at bottom. I'm not seeing. They're all must be wondering all these three nutcases are walking.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah. No problem.
Geeta, it's really wonderful to hear.
Yes, really wonderful.
So much,
Actually,
Jason. Thank
So, ma'am,
you.
any questions to each other? Architect Neelam, Manjuna?
we had a lot of it already.
Yeah, I think it was a nice conversation. I'm glad that
Yeah.
we had this.
Yes. One thing I just wanted to, I think Geeta, you had mentioned about the fellowships. If you can also want to talk about it a little.
Yeah, so we are launching 6 fellowships, and we've launched rather 6 fellowships in the first year of the Ethos Foundation. We intend to run 6 fellowships where the project will be executed maybe at a small town or a village or even a community in a city, and under the supervision of architects who are willing to give of their time. The fellows will be selected, and we will fund that fellowship for them to go and work in these locations. And I think it's important for more people who are concerned about the society, environment, and make it part of their practice, like some of us have. I think it will help them develop that personality as well, and I think that's the intent and objective. Besides actually getting some of these projects into focus, we're talking. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be at that village Madhavgram, which is near Vishnupur, where I was first made to dance by the women there. I'm meeting the local MLA there to see if a project can actually happen. They are willing to give land. Now we have to find funds for it from the MLA and see if that land can be constructed on, a community center can be constructed there. Similarly, in this village called Madla near Panna, there someone's talking to us about creating a local regional vocabulary, a regional identity for that village. So we may have maybe a couple of youngsters working there under the guidance of a few planners, and they'll create a brand language for that village. So that unfortunately, what I noticed along my way, which Neelam you saw in that presentation earlier, is that there was no regional character anymore. Every village and every town is starting to look like the other. So this could be one way in which we can set an example to the larger this thing, that yes, this is possible. It's not going to happen in a year. The guidelines will be developed, and it will probably be at the end of 3 or 4 years is when you'll actually see some of that taking shape. So yes, these 6 fellowships are on, and we're going to be announcing and calling for fellows to apply for it soon. They will not be all 6 months or 1 year, or there's not, each one will depend on the project. So even for the course on universal access, we're planning to make it a fellowship where the youngster will actually sit and develop content on universal access and learn through it. Thanks, Neelam, for reminding me.
No, as I had told you, I think last time we met in your program here in Bangalore, CGPMT would be happy to, and Mansan would be happy to
look at one of those,
one of those people under our mentorship, and we would be happy to do that.
We'll talk on that maybe. On the side, we'll have a meeting next week or something.
Yes, we will.
Excellent.
Yes, and the Jasim sir is there with us in CGBMT, so we keep fighting and we keep doing. So he's there with us.
That's okay.
I'm going to send the guy to him first, and then come to me.
That's how we grow, fight and learn and
Yes, yes, yeah. Okay, so I think that Radhika, you
Yeah,
can.
thank you so much for all the speakers. That was really wonderful, and already we started talking about the collaboration. So very soon we are actually looking forward to have discussion after this webinar also. So
Sure.
Architect Geeta Balakrishnan ma'am, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation and this conversation, and instant speaker, our Jason sir. Thank you so much for intervening and then making this more interesting, I should say. Thank you so much for that. So we
Thank
have
you.
a
Thanks,
couple of
Radhika.
appointments, announcements, sorry. So I would like to just take some more time to explain about the upcoming events in CGBMT. So just give me some time to share. So these are the few glimpse of workshops which is happening and then coming up also very soon for the audience.
You must give them all a bamboo hat, mom, when they work. All are working with canvas hats and all. It's a beautiful hat. It cools the head, gives you shade, and make all the boys and girls put bamboo hat next to it.
Sure,
Nice,
sir, we'll take your
nice
advice.
idea. Nice idea.
So we are very happy to announce that, CGBMT headquarters is getting ready. And I really admire architect Neela Manjrat ma'am, how she manages to, take care of both the organization, like one Mansaram Architects and the CGBMT NGO. I really admire her for her energy and the kind of, strength she has to undergo this. But I'm really happy to work as a project manager here. It's a big learning experience for me. And most of the time we get to, we get feedback from the audience saying that, they wanted to work for one particular project continuously. In fact, we successfully completed 2 workshops on, specific to foundation and the walls. So about the natural construction techniques, to learn natural construction techniques. So now we have come up with a very interesting workshop that's 45 days. Within 45 days time, we are going to develop a structure. It's a kind of pavilion, again, beautiful organic structure. So it's similar to this in a bigger scale. And we have now, based on the feedback which we got from the, our followers. So what we did is we divided that 45 days workshop into 3 parts. So we'll have 5-day workshop in the beginning and 5-day at the end. And in between that 35 days is going to be volunteers with residents. So they can actually be part of this workshop, build the structure on their own hands, and they can, learn each and every thing, like, how to construct with the natural building material. They can closely work with the artisans. So it's going to be very, very interesting, and such kind of workshop you can never see, in this national level or in the international level. So please grab this opportunity, and we're going to give a very good offer also if you're coming with a group. And please write to us in email. We have given a lot of information. I'll be sharing the Google form here in the chat box. So ensure that you share this link to the network so that we can, bring more and more participants to this. Okay. So that is what about this workshop.
Yeah,
And
we have World Bamboo Day is mentioned here,
yeah.
18 September.
Yes.
So that's one Bamboo Fest kind of a program. That's 1-day program. And Jasim sir, you have to come on that day definitely. I'll be dragging even Yalaparidi sir and all, everybody
Oh, nice.
on that day
Oh, nice.
to the site to do that. That's the third column that you see, 18 September 2022. And we will have we'll try to get some bamboo food and products, and we are getting Rajiv from Windcraft for our workshop on the products. He's one of the best product designers who's working with waste, and it's bamboo with all other materials. As I said, this is looking like bamboo. It's bamboo and mud, almost like half of combined, and other materials. And everything also will be like, I am always for bamboo, using bamboo with other materials as one of the materials in the whole building. And that's how we will be doing, even with the products, even with everything else. So there'll be lime, there'll be stone, there'll be waste, that all that we will be using to do this whole construction process in 45 days.
Good.
Yeah.
18 September. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank
it
you.
starts from 10th September till 24th October. It will go on. So depends upon your convenience, you can be part of this workshop. So that's how we managed to do it.
Neelam knows how to get around us, don't we?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we'll move on
Geeta, I would request Geeta also to spread the word among the students, because a lot of colleges has been requesting us that we want to be part of a construction site
Very
for
true.
at least 10 days, 5 days like that. And so we have designed this whole thing in a way that colleges can join at their convenience, whenever between September to October. And probably, yes, as Radhika was telling, I think this is the longest workshop. Even internationally, such big workshops are not conducted actually. They're not more than 3 days or 5 days. But we want to really do it and complete this whole process so that people learn. They always get half a picture or part of the picture. So when they want to do something, they do not know the whole process. And that's why we have designed this whole thing.
One point, can you on that day or during the workshop get some bamboo cloths?
Yes, sir.
People haven't seen. When I wear that bamboo shirt, people look at, what are you wearing? They don't believe it. That's you can do. You keep some cloth, which I want to use as covering in architecture. Okay. I want that my next material process.
Yes,
Please.
yes.
I have bamboo saris as well, which I wear.
Yeah. Yes, of course. They're there. We will have an exhibition also, so 18 September, we will have 1-day exhibition as well of different kinds of products from bamboo. And so that will be there. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this, I'll move forward to the next upcoming. It's already ongoing actually. Yeah. So this is again a pre-booking of Let's Build with Bamboo is already on, and we would request you to circulate this link to your known network, and I will share it in the social media also. So please continue supporting in this also. And this is again yearly once such kind of, the PG certificate course by CGBMT will be floated. So yearly once we float this advertisement. So it starts in the August month. At the end of the August, we are going to start. Entries already started coming, but we just extended the date till end of August so that we can add more and more entries. So we are keeping it open. So it's basically bamboo application technology is the topic, and it's a post-graduate certificate course for 1 year will be given. And we have 2 workshops at the end of the semester. and we'll have live classes. And at the end of the semester, you have to submit a project report, which will be guided by architect Neela Manjunath ma'am. And so with this, I would like to end this session. We invite more and more volunteers. So our aim is to at least reach to 500 volunteers through various programs in the next 3 years. So these are the volunteer managers, different for categories we are looking at: social media, copywriter, content creator, researcher. In fact, recently we are not volunteer as such, but we are looking for a principal for School of Living, CGBMT School of Living. So he or she will be acting as a full-time who can control all the courses and the upcoming programs which is under CGBMT. So with this, I end the session. It was really, really great hearing such eminent speakers over here. And I thank each one of you who's been part of this session and been supporting us for a very long time. And of course, I know this has been live at YouTube, and all the audience who is watching this session with us. Really thankful for each one of you. And special thanks to architect Geeta Balakrishnan to take your time and energy and be with us and share your inputs. You really created a very big impact, ma'am. I could see the kind of people gathering in the place wherever you go and the interaction which is happening. That really shows the impact which you have created. And of course, you are going to gather all that memories into a book, you said. So all the very best, and congratulate for that. And hopefully it will be out very soon, I guess. So all the very best for that too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Neelam.
Jasin sir.
Thanks, Jasin.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
I
you
would
so
like to
much.
share all the links in the chat box. So, and finally, yes, again, I can see lovely, colorful, vibrant celebrations all around the country. And it's Har Tiranga, Har Ghar Tiranga. And then we are actually celebrating the, Azad Ki,
Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Mahotsav. So that's really beautiful, and happy Independence Day to all of you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai Hind.